This is Sarah Squires bringing you behind the headlines in today's edition of WyoToday Newsroom. Today, I am so lucky to be joined here in the studio by Wyoming Game and Fish's Rene, Schell, Brady, Frude, and Dillion Bates. Welcome to the show, guys.
Yeah, good morning, Sarah.
So I know that folks out there kind of see game and fish. We know that you guys have your hands in all kinds of different areas when it comes to Wyoming outdoors here. But I think behind the scenes, there's kind of this process going on about recruiting and retaining sort of the face of the organization, and that's game wardens. Tell us about that, Rene.
Yeah, I brought Brady and Dillion today so they can talk even more about this than me. But number one, I think I should say, most of our employees are not game wardens. I think a lot of people, for those of us, me speaking personally, when I go out in a red shirt and everyone asks about me being a game warden, and I have to let people know we have biologists, we have all kinds of positions. So game wardens, though, you're right, are the face of the agency. They're out there all the time interacting with public, and we need more game wardens. We need more, whether it's youth or adults, getting excited to be in law enforcement for wildlife. And it's different than other law enforcement jobs because they really get a hand in actually managing the wildlife populations and working side by side with our biologists. And that differs from game warden positions in other states as well. So Brady Frude, he supervises the training for all the wardens as they come in. And this is newer over the last few years and has really provided a consistency so that all of our game wardens are getting the same thing. And then Dillion will be soon our new South Riverton game warden. So definitely anxious to talk to Dillion today too. But yeah, I want folks to start thinking about being game wardens. You know, I think maybe it's on my brain because I have a kid that just started college this year, another one going. It's like, I know kids are thinking about this, right? Our young adults, what do you want to be? How about a game warden?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Brady, this is really your bread and butter here. Can you kind of tell us, what goes into sort of recruiting? What does training look like? Let us know who should be paying attention right now to this topic and maybe being interested in joining you.
Yeah, of course. And thanks for having us this morning. A lot of your listeners will probably recognize me as I was the Lander game warden for several years, for just about 10 years. And before that, I was game warden in Rawlins and covered the Green Mountain country and a lot of that eastern Fremont County. So I've been in this country for quite a while. But about 3 years ago, the department created a new work unit. They dubbed the Recruitment, Retention, and Training Unit, and I was selected to head up that unit and put together some standardized training for game wardens across the state. Historically, kind of the training regimen for new game wardens was your supervisor handed you your truck keys and your ticket book and said, "Good luck, go learn how to be a game warden." And kind of this sink or swim philosophy. And so we put together more of like Ray was saying, a standardized training plan for folks so they can be prepared once they get placed in their game warden districts. But to answer your question, who are we looking for? It takes all types. I can remember on my very first day as a game warden when I got my ceremonial truck keys and ticket book. My supervisor told me there's 50 game wardens in this state and there's 50 ways to do the job. While there is some personality traits and some characteristics that are beneficial, it really does take all types. We have folks that are early risers. We have folks that are night owls. The things that are consistent though is initiative, strong work ethic, self-motivated, and then above all else, integrity and motivation to do a good job.
So it sounds like we've kind of got an example sitting right in front of us here, Dillion. Can you kind of introduce yourself? Tell us what got you interested in this role.
Yeah, so my name's Dillion Bates. I grew up in Nebraska, kind of moved all over after college. For the last 6 years, I was a game warden in South Dakota, and then finally made the switch and got hired on here. So I wanted to be a game warden in Wyoming just because of the opportunities to work with wildlife. Being a game warden in South Dakota, it was mainly law enforcement, and I really wanted to be hands-on with some wildlife, working with biologists. I love being out in the field. I love hunting and fishing, so this was kind of the perfect job for me.
Right on. So, Brady, what does training look like now that you've kind of established this program? What should new folks interested in this kind of expect?
So we took on kind of a blended field training approach. Throughout the U.S., there are a couple main field training philosophies. There's one called the San Jose model, and then another one called the Reno model. And we took components of both of those to create a training plan. The nice thing about it is that it's for the most part all hands-on and with another mentor game warden. So we place new hires with 3 training officers, a primary, a secondary, and an out of region one. And that gives them the opportunity to see established and well-accomplished game wardens do the job in a couple of different locations around the state and with different work styles. We cover everything from just basic orientation with the Game and Fish Department through watercraft enforcement and training into fall hunting season training. We cover a very little bit of basic horsemanship, 4-wheel drive training, a lot of boat operation training. And then we go into winter training where we do snowmobile training. We learn about landowner relations. We talk about trapping enforcement. Really everything that a game warden does, which is a very diverse job, as these guys both mentioned. It's not just wildlife law enforcement, but there's a lot of biological or wildlife management and public relations. We put them through hunter ed classes. It's very
They talk about
over-encompassing.
how to do radio shows, how to talk to the media. I get to do that training with them, and it's a lot of fun. I do want to say, like, what kind of degree, if someone is right now, they're in college, or they're listening to this, or they have a family member listening, and they're thinking, I know Johnny would be great at this. How can Johnny prepare?
Yeah, great question.
Or Sally?
We've recently changed our qualifications. We used to be very stringent, where a very select type of college degrees were required. I should step back a hair. A 4-year bachelor's degree is required. It used to be it had to be in wildlife management, biology, or closely related topic. We dropped that requirement. Any bachelor's degree will qualify you so long as you've taken and passed 20 wildlife credit hours. So, criminal justice majors will take urban planners, philosophy majors, whatever. As long as they have a little bit of an interest and have taken some wildlife courses, they can qualify to put in. It is just the nature of the job actually is fairly heavy in math and sciences. So those strengths are helpful, but not required.
Yeah.
Right, Dylan?
Yes.
Yeah, and they, like I said earlier, work hand in hand with a biologist who probably, at least hopefully one of the two has those strong math and science skills and can work together. So also I'm hearing, Brady, like, let's say someone did get a bachelor's degree, they're done with that, maybe they're not satisfied in their job or having a hard time finding a job that they really like. They could still go back maybe and get these hours outside of that bachelor's degree, get these wildlife credits,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
look
absolutely.
at something like this.
Yeah, I'm a good example of something similar. I didn't start in this career until I was 31. I think 31 years old. I joined the Army straight out of college, and then kind of bumped around doing some construction and stuff like that. And then I was in my 30s when I started this. We hire folks from all ranges, from new grads to people looking at a second career. And then, similar to what we were talking about, a strong desire, or I don't know, having a strong hunting and fishing background certainly helps. But we hire all sorts of folks. We hire folks every year that have never hunted before, maybe have a little bit of fishing or maybe went out a couple times with an uncle or a grandpa or whatever. That's not a requirement. Again, that type of stuff helps. It puts you a little bit ahead of the curve. But we are honestly looking for all types.
And I will just brag a little bit about what these guys get to do, because there are super fun parts of their job. There's, of course, the things that you think about, right? When Brady talked about the truck keys and the ticket book. But then the other parts of their job that I think might be the most exciting would be when they get to help with wildlife captures, relocations. Even, a lot of our game wardens are really excited about public contacts, and that relationship with the public is important to them, and teaching hunter education. So those are just some of the fun things that aren't just the ticket book part of the job. There's a lot more to it, and working right now on season setting. So starting to think about seasons for next hunting seasons already. So yeah.
I came to Wyoming about 3.5 years ago, and I remember, years before that, I was immersed in the world of Wyoming game and fish through the eyes of Joe Pickett. I was reading those C.J. Box novels. I remember when I first drove into Wyoming, I saw a game and fish office, and I snapped a pic and sent it to my friends, look at this. Now, I wanted to ask you, Dillion, you mentioned you're from Nebraska. You worked in, was it South Dakota as a game warden?
Yes.
So is it just me, or is Wyoming the state to be a game warden? I mean, are we really famous out there? Is, what attracted you, personally to come here and be a warden?
I'd have to agree that it's the spot to be a game warden.
Yes.
I worked for Wyoming Game and Fish in 2019 as a feed ground technician. Loved the people, loved the department, loved the area. Got hired on by South Dakota, and then I was like, I need to be in Wyoming, so I did everything I could to make it back here.
Yeah.
And Dillion will be taking over March 1st, that South Riverton position. And then just at the same time, Zach, who's our North Riverton, he's actually transferring to Laramie to be a warden there. So if you see Zach between now and then, he's been a great warden here in Riverton. So wish him well on his route to Laramie, and Dillion will get just more area to cover.
Yeah. Well, that's an exciting transition, and we absolutely welcome you, Dillion. So that'll be great. Now, Brady, for folks out there who are listening who are maybe like, you know what, this is right up my alley, or, my grandson, this is exactly what he wants to do. How should we reach out, or what should we be thinking about? I know there's maybe some upcoming periods this year where we could sign up, but what should people be getting ready to do if they want to proceed?
Yeah, great question. So our website is full of information on available careers, including game warden career. We typically hire seasonal and contract folks, really kind of late winter, late fall, early winter is kind of when those job announcements come off, and those are for seasonal positions, usually that kind of last through the summer, and those are great opportunities for college kids or somebody looking to dip their toes into what the game and fish does. But for my world, game warden specific, we typically run one hiring a year, maybe two. We actually just finished up a hiring process. We like to time that with graduations, of course, so we try to get the most bang for our buck. Oftentimes towards the end of May to beginning of June is usually when you'll see the game warden application period open. It's a very long process. Unfortunately, we lose a lot of potentially good candidates because our process is so long. We may open the application process in June and might not have a decision till late October. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of steps that go involved into becoming hiring, but really kind of paying attention to our Wyoming Game and Fish website to see when those job applications become open, or other. I know when I was in college, there was all sorts of job boards, especially if you're in the natural resources world. The Texas A&M job board is where almost everybody gets hired through, stuff like that. But in addition, calling your local, game warden. If folks have a relationship with Zach here in Riverton or with Rob in Lander, they can call them and set up ride-along times. I'm sure Dylan would love to throw somebody, some aspiring high school kid in his truck and drive around the sagebrush or up on Beaver Rim and talk about, the aspects of this job. Getting together with local game and fish folks, doesn't have to be just game wardens, but the biologists, or even some of the office personnel, is a great way to start that ball rolling into a future career with us.
Yeah. I think with all of our careers, experience is key. And so really, you kind of have to start with some of these contract jobs often. So what Brady's talking about, and I think some are still open now, especially in our area. So look on either the Game and Fish website or the state hiring website. So even if you're thinking about being a game warden or doing anything for us, just getting a foot in the door is great. And then another opportunity would be attending our season setting meetings that are coming up in March. And so just to get a little more experience about, again, what we do, what our game wardens do, season settings coming up in March, and I've got those dates. March 19th will be in DuBois. All these are at 6 p.m. March 25th in Rollins, 26th in Riverton, and the 31st in Lander. And those are on the website now with locations for all of them. But public comment and interaction is so important to us. And of course, we have our regulars that always come to the meetings, and we want you guys to come back, but maybe just bring someone with you, invite some others. I know it's not always easy to take time out of your week and do this, but to be a part of managing your wildlife is really important. And so I'd encourage folks just to take a couple hours and submit your comment, come to the meeting, and learn about what we're doing.
Yeah. So whether you are, ready to rock and sign up to be a game warden, or you've got some other background that you're bringing to Game and Fish, whether it's accounting or, science or even just being part of the team at, any opportunity, you also, I think, really need us residents to kind of step up and be part of these processes about managing wildlife. So
Yes.
we can be part of that team, even if we're not necessarily getting a paycheck at the end of the day, too.
That's right. Yeah, they are your wildlife for sure. So we need your input.
All right. Well, I wanted to thank you guys so much for joining us today, filling us in about what it's like to be a game warden, how we can get involved, and the work that you do. It's been really interesting, as always. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.